a regrettable faux pas. Only he and I knew quite how embarrassing my investigations into Margaret Jones's death might have proved to our family. I glared ineffectually into the blank world that hid his face from me. Was he attempting to stare me into submission as he had done when I was a boy? Failing sight did not confer many advantages, but at least it meant that I was immune to that particular form of intimidation. "Harry, why must you insist on behaving as if your faculties were unimpaired?" His tone surprised me, sounding almost conciliatory. "First there was all that nonsense about becoming a solicitor, and now this. In other words, why won't you stop being so stubborn, learn your duties as my heir, and settle down as squire-in-waiting?" "I'm not behaving as if I'm unimpaired, as you so tactfully put it. I made it clear to Pomfrey that, my sight being as it is, I'd need an assistant. We've agreed that I will be allowed to appoint my own coroner's officer." "By which you mean Charles Schofield's clerk, I assume?" "John Davies is an ideal assistant. He's observant, discreet, and doesn't need to be told anything twice. It's not his aptitude that concerns me. Do you not see how showing preference for somebody like Davies, valuing him above your peers, will affect your place in society? I fail to see how having John as my assistant shows a preference for him, or how the gentlemen of Cardiganshire can feel themselves slighted by his appointment." My father sighed. "One day, Glen Teifi will be yours. Don't make your becoming its master impossible." I rode to Charles Schofield's office through a clear January afternoon, without wind or cloud, nothing overhead but a fading blue of frosty purity. The beauty of the day should have cheered me, but as I contended with a lingering fury with my father and a growing apprehension at the prospect of speaking to John's employer, my spirits remained anything but cheery. In an attempt to master my mood, I turned my attention to the road ahead and tried to focus on what I could make out. "You'll find you become better at perceiving things you would not previously have noticed," my eye doctor had told me. "You'll learn how to make use of your remaining vision." And he was right. Despite the fact that one's peripheral vision is not designed to register detail, I was learning how to interpret the tantalizing sidelong view it offered. The problem was, I was not learning quickly enough. Much of my seeing now depended upon guesswork and familiarity. Anything new was difficult to make out until I was very close to it. I knew this road well, but that did nothing to lift my mood. Everything around me, winter fields, hedges, ditches, leaf-bare trees, even the stretch of the cold brown Teifi away down the bank to my right, belonged to my father's estate, an inheritance and a responsibility I'd never wanted, but which blindness seemed to have made inevitable. Until today. The magistrate's request that I become acting coroner for the Teifi Valley held out the possibility of a different future. Unpaid and ad hoc, the office of coroner might be, but if I could secure it permanently, the job would offer independent occupation and a potential escape from the combined exigencies of filial duty and blindness. As coroner, I would no longer be a mere footman to the status quo, standing in wait behind my father, slipping, when the time came, into his warm space on the magistrate's bench, a prospect that was about as appealing as contemplating my own annihilation. What cause does the jury find for the demise of this man? He was stifled to death by gentility. No. Whatever objections my father might raise, I was not prepared to play the docile squireling, not while an alternative presented itself. But if I was to prove myself a credible coroner, securing John Davies as my coroner's officer was essential. John. When Harry walked into Mr. Schofield's office, I didn't know whether to be glad or furious. At last! Where had he been? Christmas had come and gone, then the New Year, then most of January. What had happened to that new beginning he talked about when we'd been working together? That new start in Cardiganshire as a solicitor who needed the right kind of clerk? I'd thought he was better than that, dangling a job in front of a man and then disappearing for weeks on end. Old Schofield stood up as Harry came in, but from the look on his face, I could tell he wished he hadn't.